Chinese AI models are already running inside American companies right now, and the lawmakers just discovering this are losing their minds. We are talking DeepSeek, Alibaba, Baidu, some of the world's most advanced AI systems, embedded deep inside United States tech infrastructure that millions of Americans use every single day without knowing it. This isn't some future threat. Congressional investigators launched a major probe just 24 hours ago after discovering that American companies have been quietly adopting Chinese AI models for months. Sometimes they didn't even fully realize what they were doing. Picture this. Imagine if you found out the security system protecting your house was actually made and monitored by someone in another country. That's the scale of what we are talking about here. These aren't toy AI systems either. Chinese models like DeepSeek have actually scored higher on certain benchmarks than some American alternatives, which is exactly why so many companies grabbed them fast. The core question sending shockwaves through Congress is straightforward. Why are American companies using AI controlled by a strategic competitor? What customer data is flowing through these systems? And most critically, is there a national security risk that we're all sleeping on? Lawmakers are now asking tough questions about software supply chain security, data flows, and whether American companies have accidentally handed sensitive information to foreign governments through the back door. Here's where the story gets complicated. So how did Chinese AI end up everywhere in the first place? Simple answer: money. China has poured billions into AI research over the past 5 years. DeepSeek especially made headlines by building incredibly powerful models on a much smaller budget than American companies. Think of it like the underdog story in AI right now. They're getting serious performance per dollar spent. American companies, especially startups, look at costs every single day. If a Chinese model delivers 90% of the performance of an American equivalent, but costs 30% as much, the math is easy. You take the deal. Hundreds of companies quietly integrated Chinese AI APIs into their products. Some used them for customer service chatbots. Others built them into data analysis tools. Developers found open-source Chinese models on GitHub, downloaded them, and started shipping products built on top of them. Here's the wild part. This all happened completely in the open. It wasn't hidden, but it was moving so fast that nobody was really paying attention. Not Congress, not security agencies, nobody. By the time lawmakers looked around and said, wait, what's actually happening here? Chinese models were already woven into the infrastructure of thousands of American applications. Most companies didn't even think about it that way. To them, it was just the smartest technical decision. Use the best tool for the job, pay less, ship faster. But that decision, multiplied across thousands of companies, created something that caught government attention. And here's where the puzzle pieces start connecting. Let's talk about what these Chinese models actually are, because that's where the real story lies. DeepSeek is the big one everyone's talking about right now. They released a model last month that scored impressively on multiple AI benchmarks, sometimes beating even OpenAI's models on specific tasks. That got attention fast. Then there's Alibaba's Qwen model. Alibaba's a massive company in China. Imagine if Amazon decided to build their own AI model and released it to the world. That's the scale we are talking about. Qwen is powerful and it's widely available. Baidu's another heavy hitter with their Ernie model. All three of these are serious AI systems. They can handle language tasks, reasoning, code generation, basically the same capabilities American models provide. The key difference is philosophy. Chinese AI companies released these models as open source or cheap API access. American companies typically keep tight control over access, charge more money, and require agreements about how you can use them. So when an American startup builder needed AI capabilities fast and cheap, these Chinese models weren't just available, they were tempting. The quality was there. The price was there. The licensing was flexible. For a small team trying to build something, it made complete sense. But here's the catch that nobody thought through. When you build your product on top of someone else's AI model, you're not just using their software. So which American companies are actually using Chinese AI? That's the question Congress is asking right now. The investigation revealed names across multiple industries, startups, mid-sized software companies, even some established tech firms. We're not just talking about one sector either. Some companies integrated Chinese AI for customer support chatbots. That means customer conversations are flowing through Chinese servers. Others built it into data analytics platforms where business intelligence gets processed through these systems. Developers embedded it in coding assistants and productivity tools. One pattern that emerged is particularly interesting. Many companies didn't have a single decision point where someone said, let's use Chinese AI. Instead, individual engineers or small teams chose the best tool available for their specific problem. They grabbed a model from a GitHub repository. They set up an API call to a cheaper Chinese provider. They started shipping. By the time company leadership realized what was happening, it was already in production serving real users. Startup ecosystems especially embraced this approach. Lean teams, tight budgets, competing on speed, they're the ones most likely to grab whatever tool works fastest and costs least. Some of these startups are now potentially worth hundreds of millions of dollars, built on foundations that route data through Chinese infrastructure. The investigators are now going through software supply chains, looking at dependencies, checking which open-source projects rely on Chinese models. So what's actually different between American and Chinese AI models? Let's break this down straight. Technically speaking, they're more similar than they are different. Both can handle language, reasoning, and coding tasks. Both have been trained on enormous datasets. Both are getting smarter every month. Where they diverge is strategic. American models like OpenAI's GPT, Anthropic's Claude, or Google's Gemini come with strict terms of service. You pay per use. You agree not to use them for certain things. You can't retrain them on your own data. The companies keep tight control. Chinese models take a different approach. They're released more openly, cheaper or free, fewer restrictions on what you can do with them. That's intentional strategy. Get adoption, build an ecosystem, create switching costs. It's the same playbook tech companies everywhere used to win markets. From a pure performance standpoint, the gap between American and Chinese AI has basically vanished. DeepSeek's latest model benchmarks almost identically to GPT-4 on many tasks, but costs a fraction of the price. That's not hype. That's what the testing actually shows. The real difference is geopolitical, not technical. An American AI model is built by an American company, running on American infrastructure, governed by American laws. A Chinese model is built by a Chinese company, controlled by a Chinese government, running on Chinese infrastructure, operating under different rules. Here's what's keeping Congress up at night: the national security implications of all this. When American companies route sensitive data through Chinese AI systems, you're creating a direct pipeline of information to a potential strategic competitor. Imagine a financial services company using Chinese AI to analyze customer investment patterns. That's market intelligence flowing out. Imagine a healthcare startup using Chinese AI to process patient data. Medical research is leaving the country. Imagine a defense contractors team using a Chinese-powered coding assistant. Engineering details are being processed overseas. The government's position is straightforward. In a technology competition between superpowers, information is currency. When American companies accidentally became distributors of American data to Chinese systems, they didn't realize they were changing the balance of power. There's also the supply chain risk angle. If malicious actors could inject code into a popular open source model that thousands of American companies use, they could compromise all of them at once. One poisoned dataset could spread through thousands of applications. The other concern is even more direct: government influence. If a Chinese AI model is used by American companies, could the Chinese government force the company to modify the model, add surveillance capabilities, degrade performance for certain customers? These aren't theoretical risks. They are the kinds of things authoritarian governments have done with tech platforms before, and there's precedent. We've seen this movie with Chinese technology before. So what can American companies actually do about this? And if you're building something yourself, how do you avoid this trap? Let's get practical here. First up, audit everything in your technology stack. If you're running a company or leading an engineering team, you need to know exactly which AI models power your applications. That means checking dependencies, reading through code, understanding where API calls are actually going. There's free tools that can help with this. You can scan your open source dependencies using software composition analysis tools. Look for Chinese origin models or API calls to Chinese endpoints. Be honest about what you find. This isn't about blaming anyone. It's about understanding your risk profile. Second, if you're already using Chinese AI in production, you have choices. You can migrate to American alternatives. You can build your own model. You can use on-premise open source models that you control locally. None of these are trivial, but they are all possible. For new projects, the answer is simpler. Just make the intentional choice upfront. Decide whether geopolitical concerns matter to your use case. If they do, start with American models. Yes, they might cost more. Yes, they might require more setup, but you'll know your data isn't flowing through foreign infrastructure. Third, individual developers can make a difference here too. Before you grab a model off GitHub, just spend 5 minutes understanding where it comes from. Here's what this all means, and why you should care even if you're not building software. The United States and China are in an intense competition over who controls AI technology. That competition isn't just about which country has the smartest models. It's about economic power, national security, and who gets to shape what AI does next. What lawmakers discovered is that American companies, without coordinating any grand strategy, have accidentally handed significant advantages to Chinese competitors. Thousands of companies are funneling user data, business intelligence, and engineering knowledge through Chinese systems. That's not malice, that's just the free market picking the cheapest option. But in geopolitical competition, the free market's choices have security implications. This investigation is just the beginning. Expect new regulations. Expect the United States government to push for American AI adoption. Expect companies to face pressure to switch away from Chinese models. Here's what to watch for in the next few weeks. New legislation restricting which AI models American companies can use. Pressure from the government on tech companies to prioritize American models. Maybe even export controls on Chinese AI, making it harder to use in the first place. The broader lesson is this: technology choices aren't neutral. They're strategic decisions that ripple outward in ways nobody predicted. When companies race to adopt the cheapest tool, those choices aggregate into something much bigger. If you're building anything tech-related, just be intentional about whose infrastructure you're building on. That's the lesson this investigation teaches. Follow for daily AI news covering the stories that matter.